My name is Greg Foertsch. I'm the art director on XCOM 2. So XCOM, the great thing about XCOM is no matter what game you like, you're going to find elements of it in there. You know, we've got a strategy game where you're managing resources and deciding on different things you want to do and missions you want to take. Then we've got the tactical game where it feels a little more action-oriented, yet it's still a turn-based, game where you're really making critical decisions and decisions that have consequences. And then, we drop the camera down and make it feel much more immersive. And so, whether you like action games, whether you like shooters, whether you like turn-based or straight-up strategy, there's pieces of every one of those games that kind of permeate XCOM. And I think you can find anything you want in there. A lot. So it doesn't really pick up after the end of XCOM Enemy Unknown or Enemy Within. It kind of starts over in a place where, like most people, they lost the first time they played, or the second time they played, or maybe even the third time, like me. And so it starts at a point where you kind of lost very early, and it takes kind of an alternate history approach to what happened. And so the game starts in 2035. The aliens have come down and graciously built these beautiful cities where they're trying to draw people in to live there because they want to show them how wonderful life can be with the aliens in charge. So that is generally what's happening in the environment. XCOM is a guerrilla group that has basically kind of been living in the shadows for however many number of years it's been since the occupation started, and you are resumed command of your band of brave soldiers that will go out and inevitably get killed fighting against the alien force. All right, so you saw the demo with the Viper. So the Viper is a really, really cool character in the game. Animation-wise, was by far the most fun to make. She's super fluid and very fast and super lethal. She can drag you out of cover. She can bind you and hurt your soldiers and even kill them. And so she is a huge threat on the battlefield because she can basically eliminate any cover you're behind. So, and then we've got the Berserker. She is a very interesting character. Yes, she's a she. But much like the Berserker from EU, she is a big bruising Hulk. Her armor is actually skin. It's calcified like a rhino per se. And so you can see between the cracks of her skin, her calcified skin, you can actually see skin, little bits of metal. She's been altered a little bit and kind of poked and prodded a little. And then we showed the Advent mech, which is another part of the Advent class that came out and kind of annihilated the turret. You also saw turrets, and you've seen the Advent Trooper and Captain as well. So, yep, that's in a nutshell. Those are the characters. So my personal favorite is probably the Ranger that we showed. That's my personality of play. I like to get in close and take a slice. Yeah, that's definitely probably my favorite of the characters, and it's great. You got to see some of the character customization there with like the hood and just some of the things that we're planning on offering the player to make their characters unique and feel really special. so far. I think one of the coolest things is just the twist we've put on it, and the fact that it's 20 years in the future. I mean, from an art perspective, it allows us to really take some liberties and take some risks and have some fun, and while still keeping it familiar to the player. But it's a really different look from Enemy Unknown. The visuals in the game are everything is dialed up. The fidelity of the models, the animation, the textures, everything is really ramped up and a much higher fidelity. And so those are some of the things that are the coolest. As I look at it from my perspective, that I'm really happy about where it's going. One of the other things too that I probably should have mentioned, I guess, is procedural levels. I mean, that was something that we sat down right after we finished XCOM. Myself and the creative director and the lead programmer and the lead producer, and we sat in a room at a table like this, and we all said, what do we want to do next? And everybody said procedural levels. That was our very first thing we want to do. And so what you've seen in the demo, that is one of our that's what you'll experience in the game. Whether that's a park or a building or a parking lot that you're running across, it'll all come in depending on that, and the mission type. And the mission types change, and the time of day changes, and the weather changes. And we haven't shown any of that off, but that stuff happens. And so the idea that you can just play this game over and over, and even the cars and where they're placed in the streets, if they're streets, they could be something else. But whatever kind of fills up that space, that's all procedural as well. So there's a really intelligent system laid down that is super flexible, and honestly, when the modders get a hold of it, and I cannot wait to see that. I'm a huge fan art nerd. I love it. Nothing more motivating than seeing what people do with the things that you developed, and then they just take it in a whole other direction, or they just to see people respond to it is great. But when they get a hold of the procedural system, that they can make it as static or as procedural as they want. It's flexible. It can be 30% procedural and 70% static, or it can be 70% procedural and 30% static, or it can be 100% of each. It doesn't matter. It's up to the person creating it. And again, all of our stuff is procedural. All of our levels are procedural, and all have different varying degrees of knobs that are turned and make it procedural. But man, I can't wait to see what modders do when they get a hold of that. Oh, immersive, beautiful, and fun.